Hi, I'm Angelika Lipkin, the Manager of Strategic Partnerships at Higher Logic, and I'm very delighted to have Michael Tuteur, the CEO and President of Votenet Solutions and a strategic partner of Higher Logic, here with me. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you, Angelika.
And Votenet Solutions hosts 16 million voters, has 29,000 events, has 1,600 customers in 16 countries. So for those organizations that may not be completely acclimated with Votenet, can you tell us a little bit more about the solutions that you offer and the primary benefits to professional associations and organizations?
Sure, Angelika. We are a platform for delivering high-integrity votes and elections. So ultimately, organizations choose us as a third party and somebody who can deliver a high-integrity result that can be trusted. Organizations, especially professional and membership associations, will use it typically for board of directors voting, but also other uses with bylaws, referendums, other membership votes. So it really runs the gamut to help them with a variety of governance functions. Ultimately, our value, though, again, is the integrity and the trust. I think in addition to that, the ability to vote across multiple platforms and be able to deliver the vote across an iPad or through email or through telephone. So we provide a variety of services in that regard, so the vote can happen in many different ways. And lastly, I'd say the value, additional value, is really in voter turnout. Ultimately, especially membership associations, very much interested in pushing that turnout higher. So we provide a lot of tools to allow for that as well.
And what best practice tips or advice do you have for organizations that are considering to transition to mobile voting or online voting?
Sure. Well, I think first step is determining, is the membership ultimately ready for this transition. It's been a bit of a slow transition, although we're now seeing, I think, something like 60 to 65% of the associations incorporating online voting in some way, shape, or form. So I would highly encourage associations to consider the membership and their readiness. Ultimately, voting through paper ballots has been something that's been around for decades and decades. So it is difficult to transition and switch from a way of doing things in an actual habit. So first, consider that. I think second would be to really consider the board and the leadership and get buy-in, and even consider the bylaws that are written into the association's governance plan. Sometimes there's also nonprofit state regulations and rules. I know New York is affected by this, so really do a little bit of checking with both the board and with legal counsel to make sure that you can go ahead and do the online voting. After that, really a lot of it has to do with planning and communication and change management. The best thing any organization can do is come prepared, really think about how they want to tell the membership about this change, and really think about how do they want to make this voting as easy as possible. We often encourage organizations to really make sure they've got a clear communication plan and are very clear to the members leading into the vote. How are you going to log in? Where are you going? Is this a vote that's going to happen through telephone and online or just online? Variety of different factors, but really ultimately it comes down to good planning.
Excellent. And will you share with us the existing trends that you see for professional associations that are utilizing online voting, and where do you foresee the future in 2013 with capturing votes in elections?
Sure. Well, the trends are really that there's a lot more online voting happening. We're still not quite where we probably thought we'd be, but again, as I said, something like 60-65% of associations are incorporating it in some way, shape, or form. I think there's certainly a trend to doing more voting. We're seeing some associations, even some of the sports teams that we work with and the organizations outside of the kind of core association nonprofit world, starting to engage members a bit more and their stakeholders, or even in some cases customers, in helping them to make decisions. So I think in general, one of the trends is that there will be more online voting. I always like to give an example, sports team that we work with, the Seattle Sounders of the Major League Soccer Association. They actually let their fans vote out the general manager or vote to keep that general manager every 4 years. They're also doing votes on a monthly basis, and the idea is that they're engaging their fans, their stakeholders, in the same way that an association would probably like to engage their members and letting them make some decisions along the way. That ultimately engenders a lot of loyalty, a lot more season ticket purchases, and believe it or not, this team has a top 10 fan attendance in the entire world across in the soccer world. So even teams that you would see in Europe that have unbelievable fan bases, the Seattle Sounders actually match them and are in that top 10 category. I think it has a lot to do with engaging the fans and letting them make decisions along the way. The other trends I would tell you is certainly mobile is a trend. We're seeing a lot more voting through iPads and mobile devices. We're also seeing more and more organizations caring about voter turnout and leveraging their online communities, even doing single sign-on integrations with a members-only area. We're seeing more and more trends there to make the voting easier and more frictionless. I think ultimately where we think it's going to go is probably getting into what we would call something like social voting and allowing members to use credentials, whether again it's a members-only credential, maybe it's to the Higher Logic platform credentials, or even just being able to log in with their Facebook or LinkedIn credentials and making that the unique identifier. And that would make things a lot easier for the voter to actually get into the balloting experience.
And going back to the Seattle sports team, clearly the Nationals and the Redskins need to join the bandwagon and become clients of Votenet. So for those organizations that leverage Higher Logic's connected community, and you just mentioned social, how can they use the private online community to promote the voting and increase voter turnout? Sure,
and you're right, and those are the key words. It's all about promotion. I think right now, in terms of what they can do and do relatively easily, using real estate inside the Higher Logic community platform, placing ads and banners and buttons, and notifying all of the members that are busy collaborating inside the software, notifying them that the election is actually happening. I think also making use of the discussion forums and allowing, again, making it apparent to voters that there's an election going on. Maybe they want to allow candidates to take questions. Maybe they themselves just want to be discussing candidates as the voting's going on, but providing links in there to get to the voting platform easily. Ultimately, things work well, and turnout typically goes up when it's a frictionless process. You want to have as many entry points into the voting software as humanly possible.
Excellent. Well, Michael, it was a pleasure to have you. To learn more information about Votenet Solutions, you may visit votenet.com and higherlogic.com. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you.